Here we are. Here we are. Welcome, everyone. Oh, you got it. I got one too. I was holding it.
Just
Yes.
things to
So
oscillate
we're
with,
going to be
right?
talking. Exactly. I was getting the butterflies before, so I was like, okay, I need to calm down. So I just
Yeah.
the nice grounding one, and easing into it, easing into the energies of the conversation. So, Lana, the spotlight is on you.
Yay. All right. Hi. Hi, everyone. This is exciting. This is exciting because I have been talking into my channel, right, for a little bit, and about 6 months now that I've been really talking in my own channel. And that's been awesome and really rewarding and grounding and reflective and all of those amazing things. However, I really am looking for resonant conversations now because I used to have this fear, right, that nobody would understand what I'm saying and I'm so unique and different and weird and I'm just different. Nobody's gonna understand. Is that a dog?
Yeah, that was. I think he's hungry. That was a dog. That was. I apologize for the
Okay, but
interruption.
maybe the dog wants to participate in the conversation, it sounds like.
That's true.
So,
Yeah, it was a special guest. Yeah.
so yeah, it's sorry, the way I operate too, just to get this out here. I don't know if you've seen my channel, right? But
I
I
have.
have a
I've seen
dog
a
as
bit. Yeah.
well, and she takes priority
It's.
in my channel. Like she will be drinking water and I'll be like,
Mm,
you just gotta
yeah. Yeah. My one.
collect it,
Yeah. Well,
you
I've
gotta
got.
collect it.
Yeah. It's. Yeah. He's very, very cool. I'll have a small word with him. I don't know why he's barking. Yeah, I apologize. I'll be
Take a
back in a
small word.
moment.
I'll keep the humans entertained.
Yeah. You. Yeah. Exactly. Right. I'll be back in a memento. What?
I love
Oh.
this.
Shush.
Okay, so hi
Shush.
everyone. Just having a little
Yeah.
word with the dog. I don't know how he edits his
No.
podcast. Like, is this gonna leave the podcast or is this gonna stay in? I don't know. I don't know. Hi.
I'm back. I'm back. I had to just have a
Well,
few strong words with Odie. He was standing outside my door, just wagging his tail and just like, I don't know. I think he just wants food or something. I don't know. But and then Phoebe, my other dog, was just standing
for the
behind, just going,
troll.
"What's going on?" Yeah. But I guess he just wanted to be involved in the podcast, and he got his special feature. I guess that's good for him. Good
Yes,
for him.
and sometimes I find that the energy that shifts from our animals really allows for a different level of flow, right? Because when we're
Mm.
just talking, you and I, about these conceptual things, it brings us and anchors us in the now by hearing our dog make some noise, right? It's like, oh, we can be in this conceptual space where we're holding this conversation, but the dog is not a part of that conversation yet. The dog is right here, right? So there's an element of conversation that creates illusions and imagination and concepts that our dogs cannot participate in because they don't speak English.
Mm.
So, I like to think that Billy maybe wants to participate in the conversation, but simply can't, or maybe she's just not bothered, Could be that
Yeah,
as well.
that's true. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I've always been like lucky to have animals in my life. Like ever since I was quite young, I've always had like, well, I guess like in general thing, I've always kind of preferred animals in a weird sort of way to humans, and like the non-verbal kind of
Mm,
communication, like the richness of like something about like Phoebe, like she has a very piercing eye gaze. Like it's like she's looking at you, and she's looking into your soul, kind of. And it's like
mm-hmm.
I've always had a thing for as well, like playing with my dogs and my animals and stuff like that. And I don't know. It's just it it takes you out the non-conceptual into that their sort of, because animals are like, they're so grounded in the now. They have a very intuitive way of existing. They're not weighed down by like thoughts and jobs and taxes and stuff. They're just living. They're just existing. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's just, yeah. I love my dogs. Yes.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah.
you're saying a lot of good stuff. I mean, I think it's good stuff, not to add judgment into this, but this idea of co-creating, right? We're
Mm,
co-creating with our animals. Like you said that, they don't worry about taxes or whatever, but also we are a part of the world that makes that so. We could tax
mm,
our animals, right? We could make them worry about taxes, but we don't because we're like they're animals. They can't do taxes, right? These are all beliefs and like it really came up for me in the parallel I'm seeing to Wicked, right? And like I don't know if you
mm,
saw, but the idea is like the animals can talk and they coexist with humans. And then,
mm,
we collectively, it's almost like giving us this little shadow of a doubt that says, like, hey, what if we are the reasons why dogs don't talk and speak English,
mm.
right? And that's like such just a fun question to ask, whether it's true or not true, whatever, but truth can be felt, okay? And something about the
Yeah.
Wicked movie is really resonating with the masses for sure.
Interesting. I haven't seen it yet. No. I mean, I didn't know they used to try like animals for like murder or stuff like that back in like the medieval times and stuff like that. Like they used to like assume that
Really?
yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah, yeah. Like if yeah, there was like be this whole kind of like thing. Like say if I don't know, I can't think of an example at the moment. It's off the top of my head, but like they was like assume like more responsibility on like the animal and stuff like that. But like obviously like now we're kind of like well, it's kind of like say like for a tribe like if say like a jaguar like killed one of their tribesmen or something like that, like they would almost have
Mhm.
like this personal vendetta against that sort of thing. They're like assuming that you know there's a kind of like moral intention on the animal for like killing the sheep, but the animal's just being an animal. It's like yeah, it's yeah, they're
Mhm.
not thinking of it. Whereas like humans, like when we sometimes when we can inflict harm on another, there's that added layer of abstraction of you know like evil and
Mm.
stuff like that. But an animal doing evil, like
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know, it's just a few kind of thoughts scrambling around the ether
Yeah.
there, but yeah,
Let the thoughts
but
scramble. See, this is the fun
yeah,
thing, right? I, not to make it about me, but I create a field of energy that allows others' thoughts to scramble. And it's not, I used to be offended by this. No offense to everybody in the
mm,
world, but I was like, what do you mean I scramble your thoughts, right? Like, that doesn't sound good. Like, and then I think of all the human beings that love scrambled eggs as opposed to a perfectly beautiful whole egg in a certain form, right? They're still eggs, they're just in a different form. And just because I don't love scrambled eggs doesn't mean you can't, right? And I've learned to love scrambled eggs in my life. And that has allowed me to apply it to this situation in which my questions, my conversation, the direction in which I flow really allows ascension. So it's like the thoughts kind of start jiggling in a new way and they're like, wait, can I move around here? Can I
mm,
recreate some structure in the mind to create new pathways? Right? That's what conversation is supposed to do. That's what conversation is supposed to do. It's supposed to direct energy in a specific direction. And so when we have conversation as human beings and as you and I right now, like we just vibed to each other and then we're vibing now. And there really was a very effortless, thanks to you, honestly, logistical process to getting us here. And that, of course, tether to the human world is necessary because otherwise organization of space time couldn't be possible. But this is
exactly.
the beauty of conversation, you say something I don't know, I say something you don't know, we mix, we turn, we scramble. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, it is quite remarkable, and it's like yeah, and as I'm thinking, as I'm saying, like I'm thinking as I'm saying. So I don't know what sort of thoughts are going to come and arise. It's like this sort of conversation, this free flowing and open, and it makes you receptive to sort of new ideas. Like because I'm like thinking and processing everything you're saying, and it's like triggering as well, eliciting all sorts of new thoughts, new connections in me. It's like this kind of exploration that we synergize our awarenesses and then we create something new out of that synergy. And Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned scrambled egg, because I do love scrambled egg quite a lot, and it's surprising that came up. But
You know, I had
that's
a
a weird
feeling.
little synchronicity. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
strange. The universe is strange like that. It just winks at you occasionally, doesn't it? But yeah.
Yes. Yes. That's exactly the phrase I use. I love that. I say, and I've written songs to program my mind about this idea, because that's the reason why I started making music. Like, truly making music is like not for you. It's so I can program my mind to be the person I want to be. Well, it can be for you too. You know, we can share. It's fine.
Mm.
But a lot of these sentiments that I've written are about winking through time. This idea of having a connection to your higher self, your future self, your past self, whatever. And any like resonance that you feel, synchronicity, whatever, that little like spark that you get that just jumps out from all the noise. When you do that, it allows you to connect across time to the dimension of you. Like, you are your own dimension, right? You resonate at your own frequency, and that oscillates and it changes, but it's always you. And so you always have access to everywhere you've been and everywhere you will go, which is like, so winking through time is a concept that I like because it's playful and it's fun. So I'm glad you resonate with that. And also this idea of synergy that you mentioned also is parallel to the idea of resonance, right? Like, sound especially resonates, waves resonate. So it's like, you know, your wave is going like this, my wave's going like this, and then at a certain point they harmonize and create a new frequency. How exciting, right? And that's how people create new dimensions. I mean, this is how worlds were built. This is how worlds were built, right? A bunch of people got together and said, we're going to make this, right? And because they shared a vision. And so that's what real conversation that has no agenda allows for. Like, true imaginative exploration, true imaginative play. Because when you meet in a certain context or a certain setting, we put boundaries around our mind and our body and our spirit and all this because we consciously want to flow in the direction of intention. That makes sense. However, in flowing in that direction, sometimes things that may want to come forward can't fit. You know, it doesn't fit. It's not the direction. So that's what I'm exploring in this era of my life, and that's why I felt it resonant to have this conversation with you. Whatever this conversation is, right? We don't even know what this conversation is, but we know, but we don't know. But we know. But we don't.
That's true. That's true.
Wild,
Like
right?
it is wild. It is wild. There's a very deep foundation of play, like, to this conversation, and like that's something that I've always looked to kind of like integrate into like my life with like my music, and with all the sort of activities that I do. Like, I like to sort of liberate myself from like conceptual structures, and like, you know, like these intention. Like, it's good to live with intention. Intention can be that sort of that powerful, motivating yang kind of force to get you going in a particular direction. But then, you know, when you sort of get so trapped within your intention, you know, you're limiting yourself from that free openness where you're just listening to the ideas, and and you're allowing you're allowing them to just come, and you're not doing anything with like a particular like agenda. Like so many people, like, so often we get into this sort of conscious trap of wanting to do something for what it may get out of it. Very rarely we just do something for the sake of doing it, for the joy, the curiosity of it. And yeah, I just try and, you know, turn back to being a child, kind of, and just like, oh wow, you know, what's going on? This is crazy, you know. Exactly.
Yeah. What's going on? This is crazy. That's so real. And it's very potent medicine what you're sharing, right? Because you have this idea that you wake up every day and you go, all right, what's going on? What's happening? Right? And I said this in one of my videos. I was like, just look at yourself in the mirror and be like, all right, what are we working with today? Like, be real with yourself. What are we working with today? Like, take stock and allow yourself to see, where am I at? And I'm going to take everything you just said and create a metaphor. So behind me, right, I have my vision board for 2025. This is my second vision board I've ever made, and apparently it's really cool. Like, I've showed it to a couple people, and it seems to be pretty impressive and fun. My stepmom wants me to make it into a poster. That's how good she thinks of it. She's like, for me, so I can hang it in the hospital. Great.
Wow.
So the process, and this is a very healing process, a vision board process. And now, mind you, I consider myself someone who doesn't have vision. Okay, so a lot of people, like my partner, for example, she's very vision driven. If I describe something in words, if I use visual cues, it will build a whole world in her mind, which I can do, but I prefer to operate in metaphor. Okay. So this vision board is the metaphor for what you're describing, right? Because there's this level of intention that restricts. That's what you're saying, right? So when you're making a vision board, the only goal, is not necessarily, this is how I use mine, right? Some people go into a vision board building. Let's assess the vision board accessibility, right? So I sit down and I'm going to make a vision board for 2025 because it's January and I want to do things and right. And I'm like, okay, you can approach it two ways. You can ask yourself, what do I want? And how can I depict it? Whether it be with visuals, textures, whatever, right? The artist within you comes alive. But the question first is, what do I want? Are you going to put boundaries around what you want before you build your vision? Or are you going to approach the vision and say, I am going to allow myself to experience and then see what resonates with where I want to be and where I am now? In a vision board making setting, this would look like flipping through magazines. This is how I did it. You can also go online, whatever, however you choose to medium. I go through the magazine, right? And I just scan. And your subconscious knows what's up, right? So your subconscious will like allow things to pop up at you. So that is how I made this. I didn't even know what I was doing, right? Like I was just like snip, 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 snip. I was like a I can't think of that movie, like Elf or something, you know, when he's making those snowflakes and he's like, think, right? So you're think of it as like carving the tapestry of life to create the best you, right? That's how you're approaching your vision. And you may not know what it looks like. You may not know what it feels like. You may not know what steps you need to take tangibly. But when you're creating a vision, it doesn't have to be tangible. This is where you can play. And so I allow a reflection of what already exists in magazines and art magazines to reflect back at me who I want to be. And that's the idea of, I still have the intention of creating a vision. I still have vision. I still have intention, but I'm doing it in a way that's more playful, that's more exploratory versus directed. I'm going to go towards this goal. And that's what allows my mind to make it more fun, because goals just stress me out. Goals really stress me out. Ooh.
No, that's so interesting. Like I've never personally done like a vision board, but I should definitely maybe like try as a sort of a creative kind of exercise. Like I guess I've always had like very kind of like I mean I always sort of deal with things in like the scale of the day mostly. Like I have sort of various like zoomed out sort of plans with like particularly with my fiance and like some plans we've got coming and but I don't know, on a certain level I'm just wandering through life and you know seeing
Yes.
seeing what happens, you know. You know, I'm not wandering aimlessly. There is a kind of, you know, rhythm to my madness, I think. But yeah, maybe I should like yeah, no, it's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah.
Well,
Like
may I offer a reflection?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I really like what you said there, and I want to be extract it and pull it out because you said you have your own rhythm, right? And typically, when people imagine a goal, they may imagine a path or a staircase or something with boundaries in a linear fashion that take you from point A to point B. That's how you get to your goal. But the way you just use the word rhythm tells me that you understand that there is an up and a down and an up and a down to your rhythm. It's not going to be, in order to have rhythm, you need to have at least two. You have to have an oscillation. You need to have something more than just one, right? If you just had a singularity, there would be no rhythm. So there's something about, well, that's an operationalized question we can talk about another time. If there's a singularity, can there be rhythm? I don't know. Don't answer. So,
I don't know.
well, yes, I guess through oscillation, yeah. So the idea is you're weaving time, right? You're weaving time. You're up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And now in some perspectives, it's going to look like you don't know where you're going. And in some perspectives, it's going to look like you really know where you're going, depending on how you look at it. And I love also what you said about your partner kind of being your grounding, right? That's like
Mm,
my partner and I, we use this metaphor of kites, right? So both of us can play in an exploratory way in our minds or in the intangible, but we come together and it's like looking up at the sky and seeing like, oh my God, your partner, right, could embody the kite or you could embody the kite at a particular time, but you are holding this string and you are also flying by nature of being connected to them. Like you are
mm,
flying the kite and the kite is flying. So very beautiful dynamic that it seems that you've also added to your life as well, where you have a partner who allows you to enhance the human qualities in ourselves, right? Like
mm,
timekeeping and physicality and all these things. Um, Calendars and stuff like that is something I try to do the least amount of. So
same.
like by like the vision board, it's very non-linear. Last year
Mm,
mine was the long, but I decided this year I wanted to keep it non-linear because I didn't want to have any expectations of what things would look like. I want it to be like an energy board, like a mood board. um,
mm,
and I think that's at least a world where I want to operate in, you know, where it's not
mm,
so much about the particular physical descriptors, but about the larger, more encompassing words we can use. Because quite frankly, words are giving out CO2 and it could be considered pollution. So we might want to be a little bit more strategic about what we're saying in our lives.
yeah, no, that's a
You know,
very
every day, do you think we would save the planet?
possibly,
Something to think about.
possibly. Yeah, I mean, words they are frequency, and like, yeah, it's you
Mm-hmm.
are sort of sending out a certain energy with particularly with the words that people use for themselves, like when you have that sort of nattering kind of voice who is like evaluating and like this is good, this is bad, you know, or this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Sorting hat.
exactly, and yeah, I kind of like, yeah, I guess like when I sort of think of my own sort of internal voice, or the ego, the word or whatever. I mean, throughout most of my day, I suppose I tend to have like a kind of a silence kind of, and then it will sort of like a subtle whisper kind of like speak occasionally. Like it's coming in useful so I can like talk and perform in a podcast and think of the right
Mm-hmm.
things
Mm-hmm.
to say and stuff like that. And yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
I guess like that's just the relationship that has been cultivated with it now. It's definitely hasn't been a relationship that has I've had like my entire life. Like say for one thing,
Right.
like, and this ties back to something you said earlier about like, oh you know, talking on the YouTube channel about stuff that like you used to think, oh, no one would understand. Like I used to have that kind of like outlook as well because you know you won't know
Mm-hmm.
the number of times where I've been talking about something that I think makes sense, but then you receive that kind of blank, um, what are you talking about stare from the other person, and like, and you're like, okay, maybe I can't talk about these kind of stuff in my head that I
Mm-hmm.
have to most
Yeah.
people, but occasionally like you
Mm-hmm.
find people who resonate with it, and like I think that's why as well like I started creating a kind of a YouTube channel so you can you're speaking into the void of the internet, and then eventually people start picking up and
Yes.
who like resonate with it, and if you go to the internet you're connecting a lot of people. It's you can create these sorts of
Mm-hmm.
communities of people who are into the same sort of esoteric kind of weird kind of stuff, which I
Mm-hmm.
think maybe there is sort of a growing like interest in these sorts of stuff, but we're always going to be sort of um, you know outliers, sort of highly neurodiverse individuals going to be sort of
Mm-hmm.
attracted to this frequency of
Mm-hmm.
you know talking about energy, talking about life and
Yes.
resonance and these sorts of stuff. But it's good. It's
Can
good that we're
I
here.
can I invite a reflection?
Yes. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, so sometimes the reason I ask that, I'll put a pin there. The reason why I ask that is there are sometimes um really vulnerable or triggering conversation topics that, if reflected
Mm,
back, may send people into a spiral, right? So we don't want that. So and
That's
your
true.
subconscious knows. So I know if I ask an invitation way, it doesn't spiral. Basically, it's a trick. Okay, it's a trick. Surprise! I just unearthed my trick. So when we are reflecting, what I was hearing you say was you're talking about laser beams. So I'm going to tell you how you're talking about laser beams. So laser beams are made up of lights, right? Like a lightsaber kind of energy. So picture a lightsaber. And that's this idea of these communities that we're building, like resonant communities of resonance. When you create communities of resonance, right, you are allowing energy to vibrate at a particular frequency in a group in a directed, intentional fashion, like a lightsaber, okay? And some could say that it's in the same way we were talking earlier about the kite, right? That I'm flying the kite as much as the kite is flying. In the same way, the person who yields the lightsaber is as much the lightsaber as the person, right? There is the energy. So if you imagine that type of energy flow, right? So somebody who acts as the face of the community or whatever could be the person equipping the lightsaber, but the lightsaber is for good, right? The lightsaber is made of light. It is not, it is meant to illuminate the darkness and destroy the dark, right? That's a light saber and the laser. So when you have resonant communities built upon resonant foundations, not upon these house of cards that a lot of communities are built on, or a lot of social followings are built on, but creating resonance is what allows for the laser pointed focus and the laser pointed intention of getting things done in the human world. However, I saw, and I'm reflecting back at you, some skepticism of this idea that human beings that resonate with our ideologies and our beliefs are always, I'm going to repeat what you said, always going to be outsiders. That's a really loaded statement that tells me that your belief is that you are so on the outside that one could never be integrated into the whole, because it's so dissonant with the experiences of most human beings. And I'm not saying that's wrong at all. That's absolutely a valid feeling. But what I'm sensing is the assumption that perhaps it may never be the case. And I invite you to leave that door open with the lightsaber laser analogy and showing that even if you are on the outside, you still have this laser pointed focus of intention that can influence things that are happening on the inside, and subsequently remembering the yin and the yang, that the inside and the outside are but a duality of a unified whole.
No, I completely agree. Yeah, and I appreciate you sort of pointing me to that sort of assumption. That's it's helped add me like more clarity. Like because I do, cause it does. Yeah, it's sort of yeah. I guess people. Yeah, I like that laser beam analogy because it does point how when you have a sort of a cluster of highly motivated, highly resonant individuals, their impact will be almost amplified as a result of that, and they can have sort of more wide ranging sort of impact. So yeah, no, I agree. I guess sort of you know, I don't know, maybe my sort of articulations of outsiders or whatever. I guess I wasn't to say that like I don't think we like outsiders or different kind of people communing together can't have an impact. It's more just maybe it's just sort of a kind of reflection on, I suppose, like my general sort of experience and leading to where I'm kind of like now. And but it's definitely like changing. Like I do find the vehicle of like the internet is a powerful way for creating these sort of communities of people who resonate around sort of similar sort of ideas, and they're sort of highly motivated, particularly for doing good and making effective and good change. That's always been something that like when I talk about all the random stuff I talk about, it's like the hope is always that even one or few people listening, they could like benefit from it, and like and that's one of the best things that has always like motivated me when you do receive that feedback and that confirmation from the world that okay, I'm on the right track. Like there are people listening. Like for a lot of the time, it was just sort of like I said, shouting into the void, and then you're like, okay, I've just got to keep
Yeah.
going, and you got
Can
to
I
be sort
ask?
of yeah,
I was gonna say,
yeah.
can I ask, how do you know with all of your heart in the world that people are listening? What evidence do you use to tell yourself that people are listening? And what does that mean to you?
Uh, um, I guess it's I guess usually the most sort of foundational kind of like evidence is like when you receive like a nice like heartfelt message from someone who's like, oh, I'm really interested in um what you said on these sorts of stuff, and then you have a sort of conversation with them, and they're like, it's yeah, and it's there's something very naturally kind of like nourishing about sort of interacting with someone who's on that same frequency of that who resonates with sort of the ideas, and you can learn
Mm-hmm.
stuff as well, like from them. It's and yeah, I've always sort of
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed that, and as well,
Yeah.
sort of, I mean, this whole opportunity of like connecting with you, like I think your video literally like popped up in like my algorithm, and then I was watching it, and I'm just like, this is really cool. This is really, I like this, and then and
Yeah.
when I see someone like in a sort of similar situation, like to me, like
Hmm.
I just say, okay, I want to acknowledge and send the energy of like my gratitude for what you're doing, as a comment, and then you saw the comment and then
Yes.
connected with me, and I was just like, and they had that natural kind of progression, and like I say, that's one of the
Hmm.
most strongest kind of like motivators for me, I suppose. But yeah.
Yes. Wow. Wow. Thank you. That's so nice and meaningful too. I want to say a couple of things. So you just described this idea that the evidence that people are listening is this conversation, right? So in a
Yeah.
way, this is your gift to yourself, right? You've created this experience, and it wouldn't have been possible if you didn't express in the way you're expressing or share in the way you're sharing. And what I've learned in my reflections, because that's what everybody's opinions and visions are of your work or of your creation, is you are infinitesimal. So your reflections are going to be infinitesimal, and slowly but surely you will see more and more of your reflection that you're willing to look at, right? And that could go either in the dark or the light, right? And so I think this is very interesting, this idea of conversation as evidence. That's really powerful. And I do want to ask you, what video struck your attention? What do I
Gosh, I need to.
what do I owe the question to my past self? Like, as I winked at myself through time, I want to know exactly how I was feeling in the moment that I was filming. Like, I was curious if I was imagining a human being like you in part of my like connection field.
Gosh, I'll actually hold on. Let me because I've watched a few of your videos. Like I was just watching your unconditional what's this one?
Ah,
Unconditional
yes,
love
yes,
one.
yes.
The truth. That's what I was watching just
Yeah.
before. Uh, I've watched a few of them,
Yeah.
because I need to. I'll go up to my history, but it's the one that I left a comment on. That was the first one that came into my feed.
Can I tell
Let me
you?
see.
I'm gonna give you a perspective that may help you, because I see you doing a lot of this in the future. You're really, really talented at it. You have this really grounded, good conversational demeanor. Very NPR. It's very like late night NPR exploration. It's great. I love it. So in the future, so
Thank you.
okay, here's the thing. You're welcome. I trust my resonance very much. So I was talking to my parents this morning. I was like, "Oh, I have this really awesome opportunity. I'm speaking with another human being on the internet who does YouTube, and we connected, whatever." And I was like, "I haven't looked at any of this stuff." That's what I said. I was like,
Mm.
"I saw the video that I watched, and I said immediately decided you were awesome. Immediately, within like 10 seconds." And then I went to your Instagram and I saw some of your reels, and I was like, "Awesome, awesome, vibes, immaculate." I think I saw probably maybe 1 minute of your content, and that's all it takes for me to be discerning and know yes or no, right? That needle, it's a very clear needle. So in the same way, you did the same thing, but some part of you thought it would be very beneficial to study, right? Because that makes sense. Like, that's a vibe that we've
Mm.
all grown up in program. We're all running. I have to study to know my stuff. I can't talk about something unless I know. If I don't know, then I'm going to share pollution. I don't want to do that. But the truth is, anything you feel called to share is what must come forward. So if you felt resonant in having this conversation, there's no need to study. There's no need to do a history, but I understand that that's just how I operate. But I invite you to see that perspective and perhaps maybe trust yourself and your ability to guide conversation in an authentic way, because you have that going for you.
No, I appreciate that. Like, it was something I was sort of thinking. I knew, like, immediately from like the first video, like, okay, yeah. And then I was like, and then I saw like your message, like, oh, would you like a conversation? I was like, obviously, and like, yeah, I guess like I was kind of studying, like, by sort of downloading more of your consciousness into my brain a bit more. Cause it was good. Cause I was like, okay, I know.
Yeah, perhaps
like you
it
say
was necessary. Maybe it was necessary. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It was like I was called to do it, and like, yeah, I was listening to a few of them like today, and just enjoying it. I was learning a few new pieces. I think I listened to as well the one about the pine trees and stuff like that. That was interesting.
Yes,
as well. And,
I still have it. They're right. Where did I put them? Wait, let me grab it.
Then I was like, I learned as well. You're being like you're an ecological psychologist as well, and I thought that was like very, very interesting. Very interesting. And then it was
it's so funny.
Yeah, it was just more confirmation.
No, if you want to keep singing my praises, feel free.
Yeah, I'm just acknowledging. I'm just appreciating, and like I like to. I don't know.
No,
it's
I
good.
really
It's good to say that.
it. I do.
Yeah.
I guess a question that I would really want answered from you, right? And you said from the first video. So this is a fun exercise for both of us.
Okay.
Imagine where you were, what you were doing when you saw my video and you left that comment, because you left a comment, which means you took action. And if you take action, that means your body can remember that state of being, right? So you know exactly where you were, what you were doing, how you were feeling when you left that comment, right? So I guess I want to ask a real human being with resonance, what is it that my energy brings to you?
I think I was struck, and by your radiant authenticity, I could tell that immediately. I could tell that your playful nature of, like, you'd randomly break into singing at certain periods, and I was just like, this is really cool. You're like, this is great. And there's like, I could tell just your joyous nature and like the openness, and like I think like at the very beginning of the video, you was just talking about thoughts and stuff like that, and like similar thoughts that I'd have, about thoughts, and I could tell like you're doing like a very similar thing that I do, like with just when you're just channeling all the stuff, whatever's going to come, and like that actually does create some pauses, like the way I sort of do my short videos now, I do tend to like script them out before, but I always record it, like the scripts, by just talking into it, just to create structure. But I do have like some videos of where I was just, I was like, I just have the title in my head, like, and then the title would like string all the sort of thoughts that would come out and stuff like that. But I guess like as as I sort of developed my craft or whatever, I tend to like script out just to create a more like less tangential kind of listening kind of experience with people. I mean, I do riff off in the period, because I like that sort of that flowing off into whatever comes. But I guess like I could tell what you were doing, and it was like it, and what you're doing was very, very good as well. Like and I want to acknowledge that as well. Like I think like both of us, we're on the same resonant kind of like frequency. We're both doing something that there are other people doing it, and we got to like find other people in this sort of frequency and like all come together and just swap.
Right.
If you know what I mean. Exactly.
Can I want to know, like, what would you call this? I've struggled, and I've had a lot of conversation with myself about because I'm so invested and embodying the doingness or the beingness. When people say, like I sit down and I film YouTube videos, yes, but that's not what I'm doing. You know, I'm doing something else. There's something else happening, and I have been trying to, you know, put a boundary around it because that's what the world expects from us, right? Like, if, and also an analogy that I got from one of my mentors is like, you know, you have a hose, if you put something on top of it, it's going to spray everywhere. So it's like you want to let it run in the focused direction. So it's about finding that, you know, direction of flow. And for me, I spent a lot of time on TikTok, right? And that's how I got the first reflection back to me that I can grow exponentially in a short period of time. And that really helped me. But I realized that where I was growing and what I was focusing on in order to grow in that direction was taking me away from myself. So then I turned towards another platform where I can still share and flow, but I'm doing it in a longer time period, and I'm doing it in a way that's more grounded in, you know, authenticity and not like quick. I don't know. It's very, and I also wanted to say this to you too. I found a tool that I use where I upload my video and then it clips it. It cuts it into clips for you based on an algorithm that tells you what's going to succeed in the algorithm. So I hate doing like advertisements and stuff because that's not the vibe. But I noticed when I turned my long form videos into shorts without any cognitive, you know, questioning from me, I did get some traffic of human beings coming my way because a lot of people do see it from there. But I noticed the most authentic resonance comes from the, you know, suggested, and then coming from there because it's like, hey, we think you're going to watch 50 minutes of this girl sitting and talking. So if the algorithm thinks that about you, then like you've gotten to a point where, like you said, we're on the same resonance, we're on the same frequency. Like we looked at each other's subscriber count, we looked at what we're doing, we saw the way it's visually laid out, the way our language is, the way we focus on things, and the way we speak and communicate. Immediately it's like, okay, great. And that's what the future of life really is about. That's what the future of my life is about. Like, I had an experience, let's contrast this. I had an experience last year when I first started my podcast, and I was like, I want to collaborate with people. And I had this human being in mind, and we had tried to create a plan to meet up, but he like fell through, and then it didn't happen. And it's like, because the intention wasn't there, the resonance wasn't there, the frequency wasn't there. And so things flow so easily and so effortlessly when you're on the same frequency, because I knew I had asked originally, like, hey, can we do 12? And then now I'm like, oh, you know what? I want to finish publishing my album. So can you give me 30 minutes? And I knew before I even asked that it would be okay because I felt it, you know, I'm like, it's a Sunday. It's a chill day. This is a safe space.
Exactly.
So that resonance, it carries information, right? It carries information that you don't need to search for in your mind, and it makes things a lot easier in the flow state. That's what I'll say.
Definitely. Yeah. There's just, yeah, and there's something that the flow of this, of the entire interaction, you know, the way we got connected, and it's, you know, it's flourished into this, that it's so organic and effortless. And I think that's the kind of, you know, connections that I always strive for, ones which are organic and effortless. And it's just like, yeah, so often we try and force things and try and sort of, you know, like, it's yeah, that's it's never been the way I'd like to live my life. I like to just yeah, live as an intuitive way as possible when I'm sort of reflecting on what I'm going to do, like the way I eat, the way I move, and everything, kind of the way I sort of talk with other people and stuff like that. Like yeah, it's yeah, I guess sort of, yeah, it's when I reflect back on like my prior state of consciousness, like I never would have imagined that I'd be doing like podcast conversations. Like I used to have like more like social anxiety about that, like you know, the fear of like, oh, what are they thinking or whatever. But it's like when you're on that sort of resonant frequency, it's like it's you're entirely and completely sort of surrendering to your intuition in the moment. You're not being led by the sort of the ego, fearful mind. It's like, you got to do this, you got to say this, you got to, you know, whatever. Like I'm just, whatever comes, and it's always the right thing. You know, it's always the right thing. So yeah, so often we sort of get wrapped up in our anxieties of like, we have to do things this kind of way. But what if you could just do it whatever way it happens? If that makes sense, kind of. Yeah.
Yes.
But like
yes.
Yeah.
I wanted to say briefly something very powerful. You're describing the difference between being in the present moment and seeing out your eyes versus being in the present moment, seeing out your eyes, and then looking in a reflection, right? So I always say, oh, to see without my eyes, right? So when I say that constantly in my head for whatever reason, because there is a level of seeing and there is a level of being that we are that is not visual, that is not perceptual. And in the same sense, when we are in the present moment, we don't need the mind's reflection to tell us if what we're saying is right or wrong, or what we're doing makes sense, or what we're creating. We don't need that reflection. We're just flowing, right? And then for me now, I am turning my reflection into an intentional process. So I don't do it throughout the day. I do it when I'm writing, when I'm making music, when I'm recording, whatever, when I'm doing videos. That becomes my reflection time. And then all of my reflection is then reflected in a fractal way, because then other human beings are reflecting my reflection. And so it's like just a maze of mirrors, right? I call it a maze of shifting mirrors. So when you are describing, the phrase I thought to myself that may be really powerful for you, and it sounds a little Christian, but I'm just going to mark that, is allow yourself to be the evidence. Be the evidence that you are seeking through knowing people are listening, right? You know people are listening because I am here right now, but further, you created this moment for yourself right now because you at some point subconsciously decided to share a particular comment at a particular time. And some part of you wanted to have this conversation, right? Some part of you imagined this conversation in the same way that I did by inviting you. And so then the fields just collided, right? And maybe I invited you and then it's like, dude, because who knows, maybe you wouldn't have messaged me, right? Who knows? But I already knew that. I already knew that you weren't going to message me. I messaged you, right? This is just how it works, because like I trust the vibes, and there was no doubt in my mind that we would have a good conversation. So I almost knew you would say yes. So that's the knowingness that comes with being resonant in the present moment versus the, oh, I wonder if, that's a reflection or a projection. So allow yourself to be the evidence. Like your existence is the evidence, and more of those winks through time will allow yourself to feel like you're on the right path. It's really fun. Once you get into it, it's really fun. It's scary and terrifying. Don't get me wrong. It's absolutely terrifying. But it's fun once you like get over the terror barrier of the level of consciousness that you've arrived at.
Yeah. No, that is something. Yeah, I'm gonna sit and digest it all. Yes, and
right. I was gonna say, I feel like we've said a lot. We've said a lot. I like. A lot. I don't know
it's
how you want to shape this conversation to be at completion. I'm not sure what your typical process is here.
Yeah, no, I guess sort of we'll end the first one kind of in around here, some concluding kind of thoughts as but we'll have another conversation, because it is definitely strongly aligned.
That sounds lovely. Yeah, why don't we could be, this is what I like to call like if we're reflections of each other, it's really good to allow yourself to look in a particular mirror, have that conversation with yourself, right? So it's like, I'm looking in this mirror, that is you, we're having this conversation, I'm saying, all right, where are we at? What's going on here, right? We're taking stock and we're integrating. And then it's like, when we want to have another conversation because we feel like we're ready to look in the mirror again and learn more about ourselves. Like that's the exciting part. That's the wave that we're going to ride. So it's like we both are this is so fun. Like we're both acknowledging this was fun. I'd love to do it again sometime in an actual resonant, real way, and trusting that we will do it again when the timing is right, and we will connect when it makes sense for us to connect without having to force, without having to, just trusting divine timing, dare I say.
Exactly. Divine timing. Yeah. That's how I like to live my life nowadays. So, yeah. And it's
it's fun,
it will sort of Exactly. It brings you to the place that you need to be at the right moment. And it's like when you start to find within yourself like that, like the courage kind of letting go and surrendering to it, you realize the absurdity of what you were trying to do previously when you're
Mm.
trying to force things, like that sort of that more sort
Yeah.
of like ego individual kind of, I'm just this individual in this crazy world and like trying to make sense of it. And it's just like no, I kind of just let go of that attachment to outcome, and things will produce, opportunities will present themselves to you, these synchronicities, these connections, they will arise, and then it's like and you'll feel that natural resonance, like, oh, I like this, or a dysresonance, oh, I'm
Hmm.
not vibing with this, and then I just live
Hmm.
based on vibes. It's a vibe based philosophy that I embody nowadays. But
Vibe-based
yeah,
philosophy. Yes.
exactly.
And I love what you said. That was great. That was whatever you just said, that really hit. That really hit. Like, and I say whatever you just said not as somebody who didn't listen, right? It's so funny cuz I'll hear words, but I won't tell you, I couldn't tell you at the end of it what the words were, but I will tell you exactly the vibe, right? And I'll
Oh,
use my words to articulate the vibe, but it won't be the same words you use, but I like felt that and I was like that that's potent. That's the word I'm using. Very
thank
potent.
you. I appreciate it. Yeah. No. Oh, it's been amazing. I've very much enjoyed this, Lana, and it's been a pleasure.
I've
And
enjoyed this too.
uh, this is great. This is great. Amazing. Um, yeah. Well, I guess that is. What time is it where you are? I think it's middle of your day, isn't it? Yeah.
It is
The sun is
approximately
still
1:30.
1:30. Wow. Well, I hope you enjoy the
Yeah.
rest of your sweet Sunday afternoon. Hope it is filled with much
Thank you.
joy
Thank you so much.
and excitement. You're
Thank you
welcome.
very
You're
much.
welcome. Well, well, well.
And
Okay.
I hope that you have
Well,
a good slumber.
yes, I shall. Well, I'll have a nice dinner. I need some food and then I'll
Get
pass out in my bed,
nourished.
and then have a
That's a word that
exactly
really resonated with you. Nourishment. So allow
nourish.
yourself to
Exactly.
nourish yourself.
I shall. I shall. I shall be very nourished. So I'm going to stop recording
Cheers.
now. Cheers, everyone listening on the interwebs, and
Cheers.
have an amazing day. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.